Hi, this is Esther Lipke. I'm a college and career advisor.
I am Maria Sandoval, also a college and career advisor.
And today we're here to kind of give you some basics about Financial Aid 101, things that we hope will help you through this whole process.
So first, just an overview of what we will be discussing today. It is information about financial aid, which will include applying for aid, common mistakes, the timeline, financial aid eligibility, types of aid, and then specific Oregon opportunities. So first, just some important vocab. Financial aid is any type of aid that is used to help a student pay for college. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and the key word there is free. So you should not be paying to get this application completed. And the ORSA is the Oregon Student Aid Application. So important questions: how do I apply and when? So you really need to be reviewing admissions and financial aid websites and materials for each school to which you are applying to. Some of them may have specific deadlines. You want to make sure that you meet all application deadlines, that you complete the FAFSA starting in October of senior year for the following school year. And then the ORSA will also open up in October for undocumented students in Oregon. Some colleges may require students to complete the financial aid profile via College Board, and you may want to make sure that you complete that only if it's required by the school. Make sure you submit all requested follow-up information, and we'll go into details here about that shortly. Basically, the financial aid application process goes like this. You will create an FSA ID if you're completing the FAFSA, but you don't need one for the ORSA. We'll explain that in a second. Then you complete the FAFSA or the ORSA online. That information is then sent to a central processing system, which will match your information to the college information as well, and it will calculate your EFC, which is the expected family contribution. Then after that happens, you will receive a student aid report, and then the college will receive a similar report that they will use in order to award you financial aid. So first, the FSA ID, like I mentioned, it's for the FAFSA only. It is a username and password that you will use to electronically sign the FAFSA and also any other federal student aid documents, for example, the Master Promissory Note. You will create your FSA ID. Both the student and one parent will need a username and password, and you'll have to have separate email addresses. If the student's parents are undocumented, they do not request an FSA ID. So students and eligible parents, again, not those that are undocumented, they should get an FSA ID as soon as possible. And that's just to be able to quickly submit the FAFSA with those signatures. So you can do that at the end of junior year or during the summer, right before senior year, or we can also help you with that in the fall of senior year. Parents and students should write down the information that you use to set up the FSA ID. That includes your username, the password, the email address that you used, and security questions. You're going to need that information every time that you complete the FAFSA. So you'll complete the FAFSA again in October of senior year, and then every year in October that you're planning on going to college. So this is the website in order to complete the FAFSA. So again, FAFSA is available starting October 1st. Students are reporting 2-year prior information. So for example, for the 2021-2022 college school year, students will use their 2019 tax information. And then 2022-2023 school year, they will require the 2020 taxes. So again, it's the prior year. The reason behind this is that the tax information is finalized. It's more accurate. You don't have to estimate anymore. You get earlier finalized financial aid award, again, more accurate financial aid award. And you have more time to resolve any conflicting information or gather any additional documents in case you are maybe selected for verification. So you want to make sure that you gather the documents for both the student and the parent, and that would include Social Security numbers, earned income for the tax year that you have to report, tax information, so the federal tax information, any records of untaxed income, current assets as of today, which means as of the day that you complete the FAFSA. So what's on the FAFSA? Colleges that you will be applying for financial aid, and you can list up to 10. The student information, of course, name, date of birth, social security number, address, the high school that you attended, tax information, assets, all of that. It will also include parent information. For any students that are dependent. Most of our students are considered dependent, so they will have to include parent information. Same type of information, name, social security number if the parent has one, tax information, and stuff like that. You also have to provide information of the number of people in the household, and the FAFSA does a good job of breaking that down for students.
So one of the tools that you would possibly use during this process is the IRS data retrieval tool. And eligible students and parents can use the IRS data retrieval to transfer their tax information they had filed directly with IRS into their student FAFSA. And throughout this process, FAFSA includes logic questions, and it'll determine whether during your application that you're eligible to use IRS retrieval tool or not. If based on your questions that you answer, the applicant's responses will either take you directly to that application where you could upload it, or it'll give you a message that you should enter your own income manually for the FAFSA. So here, along with everything else, there are some challenges to using the IRS data retrieval tool. Your address must match the address that was filed for your IRS income tax return. And it cannot be used if tax filer's marital status has changed since filing taxes, and that could easily happen since you're going to prior year taxes. It cannot be used if your legal parents live together but are not married. It cannot be used if parents are married but filing separately. Cannot use if foreign or U.S. territory tax filer, and it cannot be used if parents used I-10 to file their taxes. So frequent FAFSA errors, one of the most common, it seems like, is that the parent and student social security numbers don't match what the Social Security Administration has compared to what you put on your application. There may be the different status, marital status, divorced, remarried, unmarried, living together, and which belongs on the form when you're completing the application. Income earned by parents and step parents. Untaxed income, U.S. income taxes paid, household size, and then lastly, not signing the FAFSA either with your FSA ID if both parent and student have one, or sending the printed copy. Oregon Student Aid Application, or ORSA, this is for undocumented DACA students who can use this application to apply for state aid. So a couple of the state aid opportunities for the ORSA applicants are Oregon Opportunity Grant and Oregon Promise. Some institutions will also use this ORSA to award their specific institutional aid, and this application is found and can be completed at the OregonStudentAid.gov website. Make sure you read all of your communication. This is where schools you're applying to and how FAFSA will be communicating with you also. You will get a student aid report. It's really important that you read through that. It'll show something that it's incomplete or incorrect on your FAFSA, which will allow you to correct those errors. Read your email, your personal email, and your mail from your schools. Also your school email, because you may be getting information from us directly. Financial aid offices will communicate with students if their FAFSA is incomplete, has missing information, and what to do next. So they are trying to be very helpful in trying to get you guys to fix your errors, and then follow up with an email or phone call if you do not understand what is needed. They're very helpful and try to have students get through this process as easily as possible. The student aid report, which you talked about, is you'll get this after you complete the FAFSA, and its abbreviation is SAR, and so it also contains an expected family contribution information, which we refer to as the EFC. And some scholarships you'll find out in the spring when you're applying to scholarships will ask for your EFC. So it will be really important to remember that acronym. You can correct any errors and resubmit once you receive that information. A copy of your SAR is also going to be sent to the colleges that you listed on your FAFSA. So you can, again, list up to 10. So any college that you have listed on there will receive your SAR report. And then they will use this information to calculate the eligibility for the types of aids that you will be awarded. Why should I file a FAFSA? We get this question many times. Parents say, we make too much money and we won't qualify for any financial aid. But a couple things to keep in mind are some scholarships agencies do require the FAFSA, and some colleges will also require the FAFSA just to determine non-need-based financial aid. Financial aid includes student and parents loans, and FAFSA is required to receive these loans. Sometimes your circumstances may change and your financial aid office may consider them. And here are some examples that may be changing: death, divorces, high medical, job loss, etc. What if something changes financially? So the first thing, you should contact the financial aid office at the school and find out specific circumstances and what process that they would want you to follow. Adjustments can be made to financial information if that situation has changed from the time that you submitted your FAFSA. Loss or reduction of income, the change in marital status, medical, dental expenses, and non-recurring payment received. So it is really important not to attempt to complete your own special circumstance adjustments. Let the schools know that. It is important that they do know that you're requesting an adjustment. And you can use the SWIFT student tool that will help you write a financial aid appeal letter to the school that you are planning on attending. So financial aid eligibility. There's merit-based aid, which is non-need-based. Scholarships are included with this. Selection is usually based on your academic record, which means your vigorous courses that you've taken in high school, GPAs, etc. There's also areas such as music, athletics, drama, and leaderships that are taken into non-need-based aid. The family financial information usually doesn't require it to determine eligibility for this aid, and the criteria and deadlines of the application process is unique to each institution. Financial aid eligibility, so need-based aid is the other source, and it does require family financial information to determine the aid that the colleges may be able to meet. Most federal and state financial aid is need-based, such as grants, need-based loans, and federal work study. Definition of eligibility. So here's a formula that is used. It's the cost of attendance, and of course that changes from institution to institution, minus your expected family contribution, which is the EFC, which equals your financial aid eligibility and your need.
Okay, so the cost of attendance is not just the tuition. It also includes any fees. So for example, a technology fee or student fees, things like that. Room and board, whether that's on or off campus living expenses, books and supplies, transportation, personal expenses, study abroad, expenses associated with a disability, anything like that. So it's not just the tuition and fees, but you can find the cost of attendance on schools' websites that includes all of that information. The expected family contribution, as Mrs. Lipke mentioned before, is the EFC. It is the index of your family's financial strength. So it's both equally fair and unfair to all who apply. The lower EFCs are more likely to receive need-based aid. Stays the same regardless of the college, although colleges may use a different way of funding their financial aid awards. It is calculated using the FAFSA information and the federal formula. There are two components, the parent contribution and the student contribution. So what is the EFC? Again, it includes parent and student income. It may consider parent and student assets. It considers the number of family members, so the household size, the number of children in college, but it does not include the parents if they are in college. It does not consider an individual's family monthly financial commitments, like regular living expenses or car payments, house payments, things like that. So again, the formula for eligibility is the cost of attendance minus the EFC, and that is how the financial aid eligibility, the need, is determined. So like Esther mentioned as well, so the cost of attendance is going to be different at each school. However, the expected family contribution is going to stay the same. So the financial need is going to be different based on each school just because of the cost of attendance, since that is going to change. So your EFC will remain the same, but the cost of attendance is going to be different at each school. So your financial need will be different at each school. The net price calculator. It's used to estimate the financial aid eligibility and the cost at any school. It's available on every school's website. Students will put both academic and income information, and it is defined as the total cost of school minus the amount of need-based aid you receive based on your family's financial situation. Some will estimate merit-based aid as well. So the types of financial aid. So financial aid can include grants, scholarships, loans, and work. Sources of financial aid can include from the school, so institutional, federal, from the state, and private sources. So how much aid will I receive? College financial aid offices will let students know the amount of aid they are eligible for. Colleges will use the student's EFC to prepare a financial aid package to help meet your financial need. Colleges will send out some form of award letter. Sometimes that's electronic, sometimes that's paper. So make sure that you're checking your mail and your email regularly. So understanding award letters, make sure that you read your award letter carefully. All awards are different. However, they have similar information. So it'll have the cost of attendance and then the financial aid that the school is awarding you. So even though the format may be different, the information for each school will be similar. So what if it's not enough? You want to make sure that you're asking questions at the financial aid office of the college which you are applying to. So standard types of gift aid programs, that includes federal grants. So for example, the federal Pell Grant, the SEOG, and the Teach Grant. State grants, so here in Oregon, we have the Oregon Opportunity Grant and the Oregon Promise Grant. Those two are also for students that are undocumented living here in Oregon. Institutional grants and scholarships.
So federal grants, of course, grants are monies that students do not have to pay back. And the Pell Grant is a big federal grant. It's awarded to eligible undergraduate students. It's portable, which means it can go with you from different schools. The actual amount is based on the cost of attendance, as we had mentioned, and the expected family contribution, and also your enrollment status, which means if how many credits you're taking in school, full-time, part-time. And the maximum Pell Grant is set every year, so it changes every year, but it's around $5,000 and could be more. The SEOG grant, those award amounts vary from school to school. There is limited funding, and it's a first come, first served basis, which is also true for other grants. That's why we always encourage our students to complete the FAFSA as quickly as possible once it opens on October 1st. The Oregon Opportunity Grant, you must be an Oregon resident and attend an Oregon college or your university. So these are not transferable to other states other than Oregon. The award amount will vary on the level of enrollment, whether you're a 2-year community college, 4-year private or public institution. And the amounts you can see there for 4-year is about $3,200 a year. And for the community colleges, it's about $2,600 a year. There's no additional application for this. The application is within the FAFSA or ORSA. So once you complete that, it is you can go on from there. Complete your FAFSA or ORSA as early as possible, as we had mentioned, to maximize receiving any of these awards. And they are awarded on a rolling basis. The Oregon Promise Grant, again, is something that is for Oregon students. It is, or residents who have lived in Oregon the last 12 months and are attending an Oregon community college. So there are 17 community colleges in Oregon, and this applies to all 17 colleges. You have to have a 2.5 or higher cumulative GPA at the time of your high school graduation. The award amount will vary depending on your EFC and also by the schools that you plan on attending. Income limits are set in the spring. You complete the Oregon Promise application through the OSAC portal, and then you need to make sure that a community college is added to the FAFSA or ORSA to verify that you may be attending a community college. And then students will be notified via this the OSAC portal on their awards. The Oregon Promise Grant covers tuition up to 12 credits per term, and community colleges have 3 terms. The tuition amount provided is offset by the state and federal grants that you may be receiving. There is a $50 per term copay for this program. The Oregon Promise does not cover room and board, fees, or books. And award amounts are based on credits taken, anywhere from 6 to 12 credits per term. Oregon Promise also covers up to 90 credits at a community college. So this does include any college credits earned through high school or dual enrollment programs that you may have participated in. And it also includes the attempted credits. So the standard types of self-help aid, the main one are loans. There are direct student loans, which are categorized as subsidized or unsubsidized, direct parent plus loan, and then there's alternative loans from private lenders. Then there's student employment. There's federal work study, and this is a question that you do answer on the FAFSA. And then there's institutional campus employment, which a lot of schools have other types of employment other than federal work study that you could possibly have the opportunity to take advantage of. Direct student loans. So there are annual limits based on your years in college. So for freshmen, it is broken down into credits. 0 to 29 credits is $5,500. Sophomores, 30 to 59 credits is $6,500. And for juniors and seniors, it's 60 plus credits and it's $7,500. Subsidized loans, you must demonstrate need, and this is of course awarded to those that qualify based on that criteria. And the federal government pays interest on these loans while the student is in school. The difference between that and unsubsidized loans is that in unsubsidized loans, the interest accrues from the first disbursement, which means the minute that money is sent to the school for your tuition, and need is not a consideration. So it is available to all with the FAFSA. More information on direct student loans. They're guaranteed approval to, again, qualified students. Repayment begins after a 6-month grace period, and the standard repayment period is about 10 years. A variety of other loan repayment options are available, and of course, depending on how strongly you are financially able to pay these loans, that 10-year could be reduced or it could be extended too. Loan forgiveness programs for teachers, nurses, and other public service employment is available, and deferment and cancellation provisions are also available. Direct parent plus loans. So one parent must apply and be approved for the loan and the amount requested. There's an appeal option, and there's an endorser or co-signer option for this loan. You can borrow up to the cost of attendance, which is COA, minus all other aid that you might have, which equals a maximum plus eligibility. You can request an in-school deferment. It is unsubsidized, and you apply online at www.studentaid.gov. There's other loans, of course. Students' loans can acquire private or alternative education loans. That is either applying with a bank or credit union. Most of those will require a credit-worthy co-signer, which may be a parent. There's institutional loans, and you can check with your college to see if they are offered. That would differ from school to school. And for the parent loans, there's private alternative education loans available to them also through the banks or lending programs. There's limited programs available, and it is credit-based. And something to note is that interest on private loans is not tax deductible. Employment opportunities, as mentioned, students can work part-time while enrolled in school, and they can work through the federal work study program, which requires on the FAFSA, and it is need-based. There's campus employment, as mentioned also. It's funded by the school. It may or may not require the FAFSA, depending on the opportunity for the student. It may or may not be need-based, and it may or may not be included in a financial aid package. It would be something separate from the award letter. I know that this is a lot of information. We are here to help with this and anything else you might have. You can call or email Ms. Sandoval and us with any questions, or set up an appointment one-on-one with help with this. You can view our FAFSA ORSA demo video for more step-by-step instructions on how to complete each application. We do have workshops and evening events that we offer to students and parents in an effort to help them through this process. So again, reach out to us if you have any questions. Thank you.